همگی. پارت دوم یا قسمت دوم از در واقع متد ALM رو در خدمتتون هستیم. بچه ما اینا رو دو قسمت میکنیم، یعنی قرار شده که فایل ها حدود 1 ساعت باشن که آپلود کردن و در واقع دانلود کردنشون هم آسان تر باشه. توی این قسمت اجازه بدید که ببینیم ما در پارت 1 چه کار کردیم. من یه ریویو خیلی سریع براتون داشته باشم. خب درس language teaching method و در متد Audiolingual هستیم. In part 1 we introduced the ALM یه introduction داشتیم و به صورت خلاصه راجع به Audiolingual method صحبت کردیم و بعد از اون با جزئیات principle ها رو بررسی کردیم. We explained its principles و بر اساس observationی که از کلاس داشتیم در واقع توی کتاب نوشته شده بود principle ها رو بررسی کردیم و صحبت کردیم راجبش. امیدوارم که سوالی نداشته باشید. حالا اگر هم براتون سوالی پیش اومده بود یا موضوعی رو متوجه نشده بودید میتونید به من ایمیل بزنید و با هم در تماس باشید. ببینید در این بخش in this episode we're going to work on the 10 questions about the ALM. We have 10 questions in the book, as you know, in each chapter, which focuses on reviewing kind of the 10 in form of 10 questions. It reviews the principles, and also we're going to elaborate on its frequently used classroom techniques. So let's get it started. Okay, but before we start, since we have actually covered some of the main principles in the previous part, so I thought maybe it's a good idea to watch a short episode of a teacher who is teaching using the ALM method in a classroom, and pay attention to what we said while you're watching the video. It's a good idea to take notes and write down what you see, what you observe, specifically about the role of the teacher, the things that we talked about the audiolingual method. So let's watch some parts of this video together.
We're going to, today the salesman is a vacuum cleaner salesman, and the other person, here's the vacuum cleaner salesman, and let me write that. The other person is a woman, or we could call her a housewife. So now, I want you to just listen and watch what I do. Listen carefully, watch what I do, and try to understand, okay? Now, I'm the salesman now, okay? I'm going to be both people. I'm going to play two roles. I'm going to be the salesman and the woman. Okay.
So what the teacher is doing, he introduces two characters of a dialogue. You remember we said working on dialogues is one of the main or major parts of the ALM classes. So the teacher has introduced the characters, and as you remember we said the teacher needs to play the role of a model, an accurate model of the target language. So what he does is he tells the students to just listen. He tries to act out the conversation for students. So they just listen. It means that the teacher is here as a model. Let's go on.
Ring, 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 ring. Ring, 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 ring. Now, the woman. Hello? Hello, madam. Would you like to have the cleanest house in town? Yes, of course I would. Then, madam, you need the amazing Hoover vacuum cleaner. No, I don't. Salesman. What? Why not? Because my husband does the cleaning in our house. Oh. Okay, now listen and I'll do it one more time. You just listen and don't talk this time. Listen again, I'll do it one more time.
So the teacher does this acting again, and students pay attention carefully. They don't say anything, okay? So let's go forward a little bit and then see what happens next.
Husband does the cleaning in our house. Now, we're going to learn this together now. I'm going to help you learn how to say this whole dialogue, okay? So, please repeat. The first line is the woman says, "Good morning."
See, now the drilling part starts. The drilling part actually starts. So you remember we said we have a lot of drillings in like in different forms in ALM classroom.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
The salesman says, "Good morning. Would you like to have the cleanest house in town?"
Good morning. Would you like to have the cleanest house in town?
Okay. House in town. Just say that much. House in town. The cleanest house in town.
The cleanest house in town.
Okay. Now just group D here. The cleanest house in town.
The cleanest house in town.
A. The cleanest house in... That's okay. The cleanest house in town.
The cleanest house in town.
Okay, what the teacher is doing here is, you remember we said teacher, one of the roles of a teacher in ALM classroom is being an orchestra leader or conductor. So as you can see, he's actually conducting kind of like the students in a way that they want to repeat after him as a teacher.
Cleanest house in town.
The cleanest house in town.
Okay, now just you. The cleanest house in town.
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 Cleanest.
Cleanest.
About error correction, see how the teacher focuses on the errors, and he does not actually let the students make the mistake and just let them go. So he waits for the student to make the correct utterance, and then he continues.
The cleanest house in town.
The cleanest house in town.
Good, very
good, very good. You remember what this is? What we call positive reinforcement. The teacher tries to positively kind of like encourage the student on the correct sentence he made.
good. Okay. This group, the cleanest house in town.
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 No, just right now, just this group, okay? That's good. In a minute, in a minute. The cleanest house in town. Just
The cleanest house in town.
you, man.
The cleanest house in town.
The cleanest house in town. Good. Everybody, the cleanest house in town.
Cleanest house in town.
Would you like to have the cleanest house in town?
Would you like to have the cleanest house in town?
Would you like to have the cleanest house in town?
Would you like to have the cleanest house in town?
Okay. Would you like to have the cleanest house in town?
Would you like to have the cleanest house in town?
Good. Okay, you.
Would you like to have the cleanest house in town?
The cleanest house in town.
Would you like to have the cleanest house in town?
Good. Okay. From the beginning now, the woman says, "Good morning." Everybody, good morning.
Good morning.
The salesman says, "Good morning, madam. Would you like to have the cleanest house in town?"
Good morning, madam. Would you like to have the cleanest house in town?
Okay, good. Now the woman says, "Yes, of course I would."
Yes, of course I would.
Yes, of course I would.
Yes, of course I would.
All right, this half of the class. Yes, of course I would.
Yes, of course I would.
This half. Yes, of course I would.
Yes, of course I would.
You please. Yes, of course I would.
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 Yes, you have to say it with feeling, right? Yes, of course I would.
Yes, of course I
Yes.
would.
Good, thank you. You, sir.
Yes, of course I would.
Yes, of course I would.
Yes, of course I would.
Okay, everybody. Yes, of course I would.
Yes, of course I would.
Salesman says, Then, madam, you need the amazing Hoover vacuum cleaner.
Then, madam, you need an amazing vacuum cleaner.
Vacuum cleaner.
Vacuum cleaner.
Hoover vacuum cleaner.
Hoover vacuum cleaner.
The amazing Hoover vacuum cleaner.
The amazing Hoover vacuum cleaner.
Then, madam, you need the amazing Hoover vacuum cleaner.
Then, madam, you need an amazing Hoover vacuum cleaner.
Okay, this group. Then, madam, you need the amazing Hoover vacuum.
Okay, thank you. So as you can see, there's like a lot of repetitions and drilling in the classroom, and that's one of the basic things in the ALM method. Okay, so let's go back to the book, and as we talked about it, we are going to review the principles by answering the 10 questions in the book. Alright, the first question asks, what are the goals of teachers who use the audiolingual method? We know that teachers want their students to be able to use the target language communicatively, and as you remember in the introduction we said the audiolingual method, as with the direct method, is an oral based approach, which means it focuses on speaking, use of language in a spoken mode, so that's very important for us. So what we can say is students are able to use the target language communicatively, so that's one of the goals. Moreover, they believe that they can use the language in a communicative way through overlearning. You remember we had this overlearn thing. What we meant by overlearning was without thinking. The students are able to automatically use the language without stop to think. Their students achieve this by forming new habits. You remember habit formation was one of the goals we had, so forming new habits in the target language. All right, and we really wanted them not to form bad habits. That was why we said if there's like sort of interference from L1 to L2, so as teachers we're going to intervene, we're going to help them correct the mistake, or we can say that bad habit, and then we can continue with helping them forming new habits in the target language. Right, so that's all about the goals of teachers. Okay, what do they want? Why are they using the audiolingual method? Question number 2, the role of the teacher. So we're considering the role of the teacher and also the role of the students here. As you saw in the video, the teacher is like an orchestra leader. What does the orchestra leader do? He or she directs and controls the musicians, but here we want to direct, control, and guide the students, especially when they are actually repeating something, or we want them to repeat something. She refers to the teacher. She's also responsible for providing her students with a good model for imitation. So teachers are accurate models, or here we say good models. For what? For imitation, and that's another keyword for us. So teachers should be good models for their students to imitate the language. And the word imitation is exactly like, as you remember, we had the parrot-like repetition thing. So they try to copy the exact tone, intonation, and the way that the teacher is actually saying the sentences. As you remember, in one part of the video we saw that the teacher emphasized the idea that you should exactly say the sentences the way that I say them, with the same tone and intonation. What about the students? Oh, right. Students are imitators of the teacher, so that's obvious. So they act as imitators of the teacher's model, or the tapes she supplies of model speaker. So we said that the teacher can say or act out the conversation herself, or also she can use tapes or CDs or DVDs. They follow the teacher's directions. Students follow the teacher's directions and respond as accurately and as rapidly as possible. So what do we want the students to do? We want them to produce 1, accurate sentences, and 2, they should do it quickly, rapidly. And that's what we meant by overlearning, like without thinking. So we repeat it several times. We repeat a sentence like for a lot of times over and over. What kind of sentences? The sentences that are being produced accurately. So if there is a mistake, we wait, we correct the mistake, and then we continue repeating it. By doing this, the students will be able to produce the sentences without thinking. So this is what we meant by producing it rapidly. Okay, very good. So question number 3. What are some characteristics or features, the main features of the audiolingual method? So we know that vocabulary and structural patterns are presented through dialogues. So this is important, a keyword. We have a lot of dialogues because we believe that dialogues provide good context. The dialogues are learned through imitation and repetition. So these are repeated words. Drills, another keyword. So this is what pretty much happens, such as repetition, backward build-up, chain substitutions. These are different types of drills, guys. We're gonna work on them like later on at the end of the chapter. So we have a lot of drilling. Moreover, we say that students' successful responses are positively reinforced. The same thing we saw in the video. Grammar is induced from the examples. You remember we said first we have a lot of examples, and then based on the examples we will teach them the grammar. So this is what we mean by inducing the grammar from examples. It means that first we provide them with a lot of examples, and based on the examples we have, we try to take out the grammatical rules. So grammar is induced from the examples, and so this is what we mean by saying explicit grammar rules are not provided. Cultural information is contextualized, so we have a context pretty much within the dialogue that we have provided. And regarding culture, we said that we try to have like everyday life. Students' reading and written work is based upon the oral work they did earlier. So they will work on reading and writing, but as you can see, reading and writing come after speaking practices. So culture, and I want to highlight this here, cultural information is contextualized in the dialogue. So this is what we need to actually consider here as well. So all right, what is the nature of student-teacher interaction, and what is the nature of student-student interaction in the classroom? So there is student-to-student interaction in chain drills. So we have a student-to-student interaction, but well, much of the interaction is in the form of teacher-class. So remember that. Or when students take different roles in dialogue, so they practice the dialogue together. As I said, this interaction is teacher-directed, so here it is. Most of the interaction is between teacher and students, and also it is initiated by the teacher. So most of the time it's the teacher who directs the flow of the class and also what happens in the classroom. Question number 5. How are the feelings of the students dealt with? Well, as you remember, we didn't have anything in the GTM, nor did we have pretty much of things about feelings in the direct method, so we don't have it here as well. So nothing about the feelings. Number 6, how is the language viewed? How is culture viewed? The view of language in the audiolingual method has been influenced by descriptive linguists, or what we said is like structural linguists. They view language, okay, as it has its own unique system. So every language has its own unique system. This is what descriptive linguistics does. So every language has its own unique system. The system comprises several different levels, so they break down the system of a language into different parts, which is common for every language that you want to analyze. So they break it down to phonological, morphological, and syntactic areas. And each level has its own distinctive patterns. So they work on different patterns. They can, in fact, specify different patterns for each level, like in phonology, like in morphology and syntax, for each and every language that they are analyzing. So they look at languages very mechanically, trying to take out different patterns at different levels. So this is how language is viewed in the audiolingual method. So how is it viewed? We say it is viewed based on the premises of descriptive linguistics or structural linguistics. Everyday speech is emphasized. This is about culture, so everyday speech is emphasized in the audiolingual method. The level of complexity of the speech is graded, however, so that beginning students are presented with only simple patterns. So culture consists of the everyday behavior and lifestyle of the target language. So we have culture to be like everything, everyday behavior and lifestyle. Comparing to what we had in the GTM, we said culture is just fine arts, the fine arts. Number 7, what areas of language are emphasized? What language skills are emphasized? So let's take a look. In the audiolingual method, we teach vocabulary, but vocabulary is not the main part. Vocabulary is kept to minimum, while the students are mastering the sound system and grammatical patterns. So what this sentence says is the priority is given to mastering the sound system, which kind of represents the pronunciation, intonation, and how to say the words and sentences, as well as focusing on the grammatical patterns. So the priority is given to pronunciation and grammar over vocabulary, and that's important. A grammatical pattern is not the same as a sentence. For instance, underlying the following 3 sentences is the same grammatical pattern. Make call, the Blue Jays won, the team practice. So as you can see, we have a subject plus a verb. So we have subject plus a verb, subject plus a verb. See, this is a subtle difference. A sentence is different with a sentence pattern, in fact. So when we say pattern, we mean we have a subject, for example, plus we have a verb. But in this sentence, make called, that's enough. In the other sentence, the blue jays won, or actually it's sort of like a clause here. So we have the blue jays, 3 words as the subject, but still they take the role of the subject plus the verb. Here, the team practiced, again we have 2 words, the team representing subject, and then we have the verb practiced. So what they do, what teachers in the audiolingual method do, is they focus on the grammatical patterns, right? Here it is. The natural order of skills presentation is adhered to. So they believe that the very same way that children acquire language, first language, the very same order, like children first hear things, right? Then little by little they start producing stuff. Then they go to school and they learn how to read, and finally they learn how to write. So they follow the same order, and this is pretty much of the natural order of skills. So in the audiolingual method, the skills are followed as they do in their natural order of skills: listening, speaking, reading, and then writing. The oral skills receive most of attention, so they like hear and say. What the students write, they have first been introduced to orally, so see, whatever they write, they have had it first orally practiced and learned. Pronunciation is taught from the beginning, so that's important. As you remember, we said that we focus on the sound system, often by students working in language laboratories or discriminating between members of minimal pairs. Question number 8. What is the role of the student's native language? This is one of the main features, the role of native language. The habits of the student's native language are thought to interfere with the student's attempts to master the taught language. So we believe that in the audiolingual method, we don't want the bad habits, what we call them bad habits, which come from the first language or the native language, interfere with the process of learning the second language. Therefore, the target language is used in the classroom. So only the target, not the student's native language. So simply put, we do not have any target language in the classroom. Question number 9. How is evaluation accomplished? Again, for evaluation, what is most important thing to be considered, as I have told you several times, is to make sure that your evaluation matches the way that you've taught your students, and the things that you have focused in the classroom, you have practiced in the classroom, should be evaluated again in the exam. So the answer to this question is not obvious, because we didn't actually observe the students in this class, but if we had, we would have seen that it was discrete point in nature. So discrete point testing, what does that mean? Here we have a short explanation. Each question on the test would focus on only one point of the language at a time. So here is a very quick short definition for discrete point testing. So when we say discrete point, we mean that each question is focusing on only one point of the language at a time. Like what? Students might be asked to distinguish between words in a minimal pair, for example, or to supply an appropriate verb from verb form in a sentence. So very basically they just focus on one very specific area, like fill in the blanks. So they are supposed to just use one word, and there is only one correct answer to that. So this is the great point. So you're focusing on just one point of the language. Say you focus on simple past, irregular format, and then you test your students on whether they have learned it or not. And the last question, how does the teacher respond to student errors? So error correction. How do we deal with the students' errors? It's important. Students' errors, as we saw and we talked about it, student errors are to be avoided if at all possible. So we try to help our students avoid any mistakes that they might make. So through the teacher's awareness of where the students will have difficulty and restriction of what they are taught to say. So are errors accepted? No. Do we want our students, is it a good sign if our students making errors? In the audiolingual method, no. But later on in the next chapters we will study that new methods actually had different ideas. So students' errors are to be avoided. Okay, we don't want them. Good. می‌دونم که پس تا اینجا این 10 تا سوال رو که در واقع نوعی از ریویو هست دیگه بچه‌ها، اینجا ما دوباره ریویو می‌کنیم در قالب این 10 تا سوالی که مطرح میشه و امیدوارم که در واقع متوجه شده باشید. باز اگر سوالی بود میتونید به من ایمیل بزنید. خب بریم سراغ تکنیک هایی که در Audiolingual Method استفاده میشه. چند تا از این تکنیک ها رو با هم بررسی خواهیم کرد و ببینیم که این تکنیک ها در واقع چطور دارن پیش میرن، خب یا استفاده میشن در کلاس. Reviewing the techniques. ببینید اصلی ترین اتفاقی که توی یک کلاس آدیولینگوال متدی میفته اینه که بچه ها و زبان آموزا در واقع خیلی بخوام خیلی کلی و جامع بگم اینه که زبان آموزا روی یه سری دیالوگ هایی که معلم انتخاب کرده، حالا چه توی کتابشون باشه چه آماده شده باشه از طریق در واقع معلم یا آموزشگاهی که دارن کار میکنن، در واقع بچه ها روی این دیالوگ ها کار خواهند کرد و تقریبا تمام کار روی این دیالوگ ها اتفاق میفته. خیلی کانورسیشن محور هست. حالا چه کارهایی میتونیم با این دیالوگ ها انجام بدیم؟ چون میگیم که دیالوگ بخش اصلی است، هر کاری که بتونیم با این دیالوگ انجام بدیم، هر تمرینی که بتونیم با این دیالوگ انجام بدیم، در واقع میشه بخشی از چی؟ بخشی از تکنیک Audiolingual Method. ببینید اولین کاری که مثلا میتونیم با این دیالوگ انجام بدیم اینه که از بچه‌ها بخوایم که دیالوگ رو حفظ بکنن. Dialogue memorization. درسته؟ Dialogues or short conversations between two people یا حتی میتونه بیشتر 3 people are often used to begin a new lesson. ببینید معمولا از دیالوگ ها برای شروع لسن هامون و در واقع major part of the class همون دیالوگ ها هستن. Students memorize the dialogue through mimicry. بچه mimicry یعنی دقیقا شما تقلید میکنید، انقدر میگید که تو ذهنتون بمونه، انقدر میگید و انقدر اون رو تکرار میکنید عیناً که بتونید حفظش بکنید. Students usually take the role of one person in the dialogue. اتفاقی که میفته این یعنی act outش میکنن ها. یکشون مثلا میشه the salesperson و یکی میشه اون حالا خریدار یا کسی که اومده. اینو میتونن با تیچر رول بشن، یعنی یه بار با تیچر انجام بدن، بعدش میتونن با همدیگه conversation رو انجام بدن. After the students have learned the first person's lines, they switch roles and memorize the other person's part. Another way of practicing the two roles is for half of the class to take one role and the other half to take the other. اینم باز تمرین جالبیه که مثلا 10 تا شاگرد دارید، 5 نفرشون یک رول رو میگیرن، سالز پرسن رو میگیرن و در واقع 5 نفر دیگرشون نقش خریدار رو میگیرن و بعد هر کدومشون خط خودشون رو حفظ میکنن و با همدیگه شروع میکنن. همه با هم ممکنه حتی ازشون بخواید که 5 نفر شروع بکنن با هم دیگه یه سمت کلاس و 5 نفر دیگه سمت دیگه کلاس و شروع بکنن با هم در واقع اکت اوت کردن این کانورسیشن. خب بعد از اینکه دیالوگ رو حفظ میکنن، حالا 2x2 2 نفره این پیرز، حتی میتونیم ازشون بخوایم که در واقع بلندشن و پیرهاشون رو عوض بکنن و شروع بکنن به تمرین کردن دیالوگ. In the audiolingual method, certain sentence patterns and grammar points are included within the dialogue. گفتیم که بر اساس در دل همون کانورسیشنی که درس میدیم ما گراماتیکال پترن ها رو بعداً قرار که ایندیوس کنیم یا بکشیم بیرون، هایلایتشون بکنیم. خب این پترن ها هم بعداً در قالب دریل، انواع دریل ها که الان میخوایم راجعشون صحبت بکنیم، تمرین میشن. خب پس حفظ کردن مکالمات یا دیالوگ ها یکی از اصلی ترین تکنیک هایی است که توی Audiolingual Method اتفاق میفته. خب همونطور که صحبت کرده بودیم و قول داده بودیم، قراره که یه عالمه، یه تعداد زیادی قابل توجهی از انواع دریل رو با هم دیگه کار بکنیم. این دریل یا تمرین مکانیکال. اولین دریلی که کار میکنیم backward build up هست یا expansion. backward build up expansion drill. همونطور که از اسمش هم مشخصه، backward یعنی که ما از انتهای جمله به اول جمله حرکت میکنیم و دونه دونه کلمه اضافه میکنیم. مثلا ببینید همین جمله backward build up expansion drill رو اگه من بخوام در واقع backward build up از شما بخوام، اینه که بگم بچه ها تکرار بکنید drill expansion drill build up expansion drill backward build up expansion drill. ببینید چی شد؟ ما از انتهای جمله اومدیم، بعد بهش لغت رو اضافه کردیم، اینو گفتن بچه ها، بعد یه لغت دیگر رو این یعنی از انتها به ابتدا اومدن. backward build up خیلی هم کاربردیه، خیلی کمک میکنه بچه ها. مخصوصا خیلی توصیه میشه یادتون باشه وقتی که میخواید یه جمله‌ای که در واقع بلند هست به نسبت با بچه هاتون میخواید رپیتیشن داشته باشید، تکرار بکنید، معمولا تو ذهن بچه ها نمیمونه. کاری که میکنید اینه که اینو backward build up تکنیک رو استفاده میکنید، کم کم اینو لغت اضافه میکنید بهش از انتهای جمله، چون هی تکرار میکنن از انتها، وقتی که نهایتا میخوان جمله رو بگن خیلی راحت تر، مثلا یه جمله 7-8 لغت رو میتونن خیلی راحت بگن. خب این توضیحاتی بود که حالا توی کتاب هم میتونید برای خودتون بخونید، اطلاعات رو دوباره دیگه خط به خط نخونیم. این توضیح backward build up expansion drill هستش. اینجا یادمون باشه نکته که مهمه، to keep the intonation of the line as natural as possible. یادمون باشه تو همه دریل ها توی Audiolingual Method، کلا توی بحث repetition و در واقع کار کردن روی pronunciation بچه ها، ما حتما باید سعی بکنیم از natural as possible باشیم. یعنی خیلی سرعت رو نیارید پایین، یا مثلا من معلم هایی رو دیدم که intonation فارسی اضافه میکنن و بعد توجیهشون اینه که چون بچه ها لولشون پایینه اینجوری بهتر متوجه میشن. نه، یادتون باشه که تو همه تمرین هایی که در واقع دیالوگ ها رو تکرار میکنن، میشنون و تکرار میکنن، ما یادتون باشه گفتیم the teacher is an accurate model، یعنی خودمون باید خیلی صحیح جمله رو تولید بکنیم و از اونا بخوایم که پشت ما تکرار بکنن بعد از ما. خب پس باید سعی بکنیم که این کار رو as naturally as possible انجام بدیم. خب نوع دیگه از دریل ما repetition drill رو داریم که خب خیلی هم کامنه، خیلی هم چیز ساده یه دیگه، همون تکرار کردن. معلم جمله رو میگه و از بچه ها میخواد که پای سرش تکرار بکنن. خب چیز پیچیده ای نیست، همون repetition هستش. زیر مجموعه این repetition میتونه chain drill باشه. مثلا chain smoker شنیدین؟ وقتی که یه نفر پشت سر هم سیگار میکشه بهش میگن chain smoker. حالا chain drill یعنی این که پشت سر هم، یعنی یک نفر بگه یه نفر دیگه تکرار کنه، اون شخص دوم بگه نفر سوم تکرار کنه، همینجوری این دریل اضافه میشه و تکرار میشه. حالا مثال میزنه حالا جلوتر که بریم. ببینید میگه a chain drill gets its name from the chain of conversation. از مکالمه‌ای که همینجوری ادامه پیدا میکنه اسمش رو گرفته. and that forms around rooms as students one by one. ببینید هر یعنی یک بار با student یک با student دو با سه، one by one اینا ادامه میدن این ماجرا. They ask and answer questions of each other. حالا میتونه تو فرم سوال و جواب باشه. مثلا میگه که what's your name? My name is Ali. حالا من از دوستم میپرسم what is your name؟ میگه my name is رضا. رضا از دوستش میپرسه و همینجوری ادامه میده. یعنی به عنوان یک چینی که در کل کلاس در واقع اتفاق میفته. حالا میتونه greeting باشه، میتونه تمرین یک conversation باشه، یا میتونه اصلا تکرار یک در واقع سوال باشه. خب یکی از اصلی ترین چیزهایی که ما اینجا داشتیم بحث substitution drill ها بود. حالا drill ها میتونن در فرم substitution باشن. یعنی چی substitution؟ یعنی اینکه تعویض، جایگزینی. single slot میشه ما یک بخش یا یه دونه از اون part sentence یا question رو عوض میکنیم. multiple slot میتونه بیشتر از یکی باشه. حالا سینگل اسلاتش رو با هم تمرین بکنیم. ببینید ما اینجا چیزی که برای صحبت میکنیم، ببخشید رو من پاک کنم. خب در واقع اینجا میگه، توضیح میده که معلم یه خط رو میخونه، یک خطی رو حالا چه روی بورد مینویسید چه میخونید براشون، معمولا از همون دیالوگی که دارید کار میکنید. بعد معلم اینو تو پارت یکم توضیح دادم. The teacher says a word or a phrase called the cue. اینو اسمشو cue میذاریم در واقع. و بعد the students repeat the line the teacher has given them, but they substitute the cue into the line in its proper place. The major purpose of this drill is to give the students practice in finding and filling in the slots of a sentence. ببینید اگه بخوام مثال براتون بزنم اینجا، ما میتونیم جمله اصلیمون رو داشته باشیم. مثلا I go to school every day. I go to school every day. این اون جمله است که بچه ها تکرار میکنن. بعد معلم میاد یه کیو بهشون میده. مثلا میگه که Friday. بچه ها Friday رو عوض میکنن، یعنی جمله رو میگن I go to school، بعد بگن چی؟ حالا بعد Friday رو جایگزین میکنن و یادشون باشه که وقتی Friday میاد اون وقت بعد حرف اضافه آن رو هم بذارن. Go to school on Fridays. میتونیم فعل رو عوض بکنیم. میدونید اسلات های مختلف، مثلا میتونیم بگیم watch TV، right؟ اون وقت بچه ها میگن I watch TV on Fridays. معمولا اینجوریه که باید حتما اسلات قبلی رو رعایت بکنن، این نگه دارن و بعد با کیو جدید این رو جمله رو بسازن. حالا توی بحث مالتیپل در واقع اسلات ها، مثلا شما کیو رو عوض میکنید، میگید my brother slash read book. الان ما بهشون دو تا کیو دادیم، دقت بکنید. اون وقت جمله‌ای که میسازن اینه که my brother reads a book every Friday یا حالا on Fridays. در واقع برای همین بهش میگیم مالتیپل اسلات، یعنی 2 تا بخش رو باید بچه‌ها جایگزین بکنن. خب این میشه توضیح substitution drill ها که 2 نوعش رو بررسی کردیم، یک single slot و دوم multiple slot ها رو. توی بحث drill transformation همونطور که راجع به صحبت کرده بودیم قرار است که ما ساختار رو تغییر بدیم. حالا مثلا چطور؟ فرض بفرمایید که جمله خبری است، معلم میخواد که بچه‌ها سوالیش بکنن، یا مثلا اکتیو، معلم میخواد پسیوش بکنن، یا دایرکت اسپیچ توی لول‌های بالاتر، معلم میخواد که بچه‌ها اینو عوض بکنن به ریپورتد اسپیچ. ببینید فرم ترانسفورمیشن، فرم اون جمله رو میخوایم تغییر بدیم. دیگه بخشی ازش رو ما بهشون نمیدیم، ما بهشون میگیم حالا اگر جمله مثلا مثبته شما منفیش بکنید. درسته؟ drill question and answer که خب مشخصه، سوال و جواب اتفاق میفته و خب خیلی بیسیک هست، چیز پیچیده ای نیست و خیلی هم اتفاق میفته. البته question and answer رو توی بحث direct method هم داشتیم. use of minimal pairs. بچه minimal pair ها چی هن؟ minimal pair ها مثل این مثال اینجا ببینید ship و ship. ببینید ship که اینجا طولانی تره، ship و کوتاه ترش. minimal pair کلا به یک پیر یا در واقع تشکیل شده از 2 تا عضو اینجا برای ما لغت هست که با هم فقط در یک جا تفاوت دارن. الان ببینید ما در این 2 تا لغت ship و sheep صدای ش، ای و پ دقیقاً از 3 جزء تشکیل شده. این برم لغت ما از 3 جزء تشکیل شده، یعنی از فونیم ش و ای و پ. تنها تفاوتشون اینه که اینجا ما ای کوتاه داریم، اینجا ما ای کشیده داریم. پس به این میگیم یه مینیمال پیر. یکی از چیزهایی که توی Audiolingual Method میتونست خیلی کمک بکنه به معلم‌ها استفاده از اینا بود، برای اینکه بتونن به بچه‌ها کمک بکنن که فرم صحیح رو یاد بگیرن. مخصوصا یادتون میاد دیگه گفتیم توی Audiolingual Method روی pronunciation خیلی تاکید میشد. پس میتونیم بگیم این مینیمال پیرها خیلی روی تمرین های pronunciationی به دردمون میخوره، یادتون باشه. dialogue completion یا کامل کردن دیالوگ ها که خب میبینید بازم دیالوگ است که ما داریم باهاش کار میکنیم. میتونیم بعضی از لغت هایی که انتخاب شده selected words are erased بعضی هاشون رو پاک میکنیم و از بچه ها میخوایم که دیالوگ رو کامل بکنن و از لغاتی که میس شده در واقع استفاده بکنن. اسمش روشه دیگه، کامل کردن دیالوگ یا dialogue completion. و خب خیلی چون در واقع ما می اومدیم گرامر رو هایلایت می کردیم، مخصوصا پترن، یادتون باشه سنتنس پترن ها رو کار می کردیم، دوست داشتن که در واقع از گیم ها هم استفاده بکنن. games like the supermarket alphabet game که توی در واقع چپتر هست، میتونید کامل مطالعهش بکنید توی قسمت observation، و گیم های مختلفی که اینجا میتونه در واقع بهتون کمک بکنه. و اینکه یه عالمه گیم رپتیشن ما داریم. خب امیدوارم که این بخش رو هم مورد توجهتون قرار گرفته باشه و سوالی نداشته باشید. اگر هم بود اشکالی نداره، حتما با من در میون بذارید. خب تکنیک ها رو هم که کاور کردیم، یه کانکلوژن داره که باز نهایتا چند تا سوال مطرح میکنه که بتونه در واقع حتما این سوالا رو از خودتون بپرسید، ببینید که میتونید جواب این سوالا رو بدید یا نه. در صورتی که بله، اون وقت یعنی اینکه خب درک خوبی از چپتر داشتید و در واقع میتونه نشانه خوبی باشه. اجازه بدید ببینیم که بله این بخش رو هم تونستیم توی 50 دقیقه حدوداً کاور بکنیم. پس بچه یادتون باشه ما مبحث Audiolingual Method رو در واقع متد Audiolingual رو توی 2 تا پارت با هم کاور کردیم. مجددا توضیح بدم بهتون که پارت اولمون شامل Introduction و Principle ها بود و این پارت که پارت دوم بود شاملمون 10 تا سواله بود و قطعا تکنیک هایی که در واقع هست. موفق باشید. حتما با متد بعدی منتظر باشید که من در واقع فایل های بعدی رو آپلود بکنم. ما با سایلنت وی ادامه خواهیم داد، متد بعدی که دوباره 2 تا فایل حدوداً 1 ساعته براتون آپلود خواهم کرد. موفق باشید. به امید دیدار. مراقب خودتون هم باشید که در واقع سلامت و سالم بمونید. خدا حافظتون تا بعد.